I'm Jill Russell with Happy Skin Over 50. Now, I am a licensed esthetician, and that is about as far as my information that we're going to share with you today goes. So, I've brought on a special guest, and it's Dr. Phil. No, 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 not the Dr. Phil on Merritt Street. This is Dr. Phil Sledge, Doctor of Chiropractic, and in Austin, Texas. I think most of you know I'm in Sulphur Springs, Texas. And so I'm going to introduce you right now. And Dr. Phil Sledge, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Jill. It's a privilege to be here, and thank you kindly. Yeah, I love working in health, and I love working with people like yourself too that are always looking for the truth, getting information out there, information to help people, maybe information that we're not being told all the time. So I really appreciate connecting with you and being here and having this opportunity. Thank you.
Now, I'm going to also remind people, and I may be doing this several times during this show, that Dr. Sledge's information is going to be in the description section. And if you can't find it or need more information, just send me an email, or we will, or on Facebook or something, and we'll get it to you. Now, Dr. Sledge, you've got letters after your name. I know what the letters after my name mean. I do not know. Okay. Can you explain to us? Okay, Dr. Phil Sledge, DC, DMP, ABFM.
Yeah, so I'm a chiropractor by license. Also, I've worked on the board of the American Board of Functional Medicine. So what I do largely in Austin, Texas is functional medicine. For those of you who haven't heard that term, it's really just about addressing the cause. And really, I think it's really kind of in a way, naturopathy, natural medicine being renamed, just to be honest, because, sometimes the rebranding can put things out there in a different way, but it's really the lab tests are better, the way we can measure problems in the body more sensitively, more specifically, but that's really what I do, the bulk of what I do, lab work. I help people with digestive disorders, autoimmune disorders. I help them with their aging. That's why we're here today. Fatigue, all these things that are very common today that really are, I think, an epidemic that show up that people just kind of plow through with stimulants and other things, alcohol, to try to deal with it. But functional medicine really about addressing the cause. That's what we do here. The DMP is another license I have, just a doctor of pastoral medicine. So it gives me some latitude to do some other things here too in the state of Texas to help treat people and help them get well doing what they want.
Now that will help. That is something where you can help run tests, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're a retired major in the U.S. Marines.
Yes, that's correct. I was a F-18 pilot. Yeah, I landed on aircraft carriers. Going back to Dr. Phil too, I think Jill said, tell Dr. Phil joke. I said, one of my friends I do Facebook Lives with all the time says that he's the good Dr. Phil, not the bad Dr. Phil. And so I guess because you don't want to get the bad news from the other Dr. Phil McGraw, and I'm here to give you good news. Well, okay, it's a joke. Anyways, but yeah.
Well, I like that one.
That's all I know for jokes. So I try to keep it light. But yeah, I was a major in the Marine Corps. I flew for 10 years. At the end of my Marine Corps career, I got very ill. I faced a lot of very serious illnesses. I think maybe a disclosure here too for Jill and I is that we're not here to treat or diagnose any diseases, but we'll certainly talk about things to support your body and your wellness. But I had dealt with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, about 38 different symptoms ranging from chronic fatigue, you name it, to nervous system issues, weakness, Parkinsonian-like symptoms, things like that.
Yes.
All due to things that had entered my body. And then I had a lot of structural and pain issues because being a pilot, you get a lot of G-forces on your spine.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a lot of structural damage too that I had to fix, but that's what really put me here. So I can thank my Marine Corps career for landing me here today.
And 23 years?
I'm sorry?
And functional medicine practice in Austin, Texas, and nutritional and wellness and anti-aging for 23 years. So you didn't just get into this 6 months ago.
Right. Yeah, I've been here for a while.
Got experience.
Yeah, I really had to save my own life. So I've been in nutrition right away, right when doctors showed me that what could happen if you did get things in your body. So it's been a while, 23 years now. It's going by fast.
And I just want to remind our viewing and listening audience, because this at some point will be on a podcast also, that to get in contact with Dr. Sledge, the description will provide that information. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on the information or what you do, which is focusing on anti-aging skin, joints, hair, digestive disorders, yes, autoimmune, fatigue, hormonal support, allergies, and more, using the functional medicine lab tests.
Yes, that's kind of what I do. All those things together, and the tests are just great today. So you can really identify a lot more what's going on that we couldn't maybe 10, 15 years ago. And so when we can find things that are going wrong in you, it's not bad news, not for us. I always used to be scared going to medical doctors because I was scared of the treatment they would give us. But here we can do treatments that work with your body, things that work with your body better. I think that's kind of what Jill and I are going to talk to you today about, because we're going to go into the cosmetics and cosmetic industry today and talk about maybe some better ways to help you age, and what are some of the things that maybe aren't being spoken about when it comes to cosmetic traditional therapies today that are getting people in a lot of trouble.
And if someone wants to get in touch with you, they get in touch with you through their office, and then they are led through the series of what to do next, of how to contact you or get an appointment, or if they need an appointment or that sort of thing, right?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Okay, and so you've got a Facebook page. Actually, the way I found Dr. Sledge was on a Facebook page that just popped up and was recommended to me when I keep doing a lot of different search for some different issues with skincare. And he's got a very interesting Facebook page on different things like injectables, fillers, and that's where I found Dr. Sledge and found, well, this is very interesting. This is helping to answer some of the questions that my clients ask me, and it's me, well, I don't know, and I can't tell people, well, just go look it up on the internet, because there's so much information out on the internet that is not healthy.
It gets buried. The search engines are really there. Industries really drive a lot of what gets searched for and how we find it in a search. So it's really difficult to find the information. So yeah, thank you. That is how we found each other. And in the group, I tried to make the posts so people can find the information more easily on some of the unwanted side effects from different things that we do in the cosmetic industry today.
Okay, let's start with this question. What is aging, and what is mainly happening when we age? I like to use the term intelligent aging instead of anti-aging. I can't stop someone from aging, but yes, but the skincare. So what is aging?
Sorry, I didn't mean I like that. I might have to use that. Intelligent.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love that term. That is it's spot on. I've always been pro-aging too. I think what we're talking about a similar thing. It's like, well, let's age. Right? Let's not worry about it, but let's do the best to slow the unwanted parts as much as we can and be okay with ourselves as we age, instead of judging ourselves so harshly about, I have to look like, because they play the same game. When I was growing up in the 80s, it was the Vogue magazine who weighed 90 pounds. Like, it's impossible. You can't do that. And they're all in their teens or 20s, and then as we go through metabolic changes, then it's completely unrealistic, right? So we're going through the same thing again. We go through it over and over again. Your body's not a fad. And Jill asked the question, what is aging? Really, in a nutshell, aging is two things. You're essentially rusting, number one, and you're dehydrated. So essentially your body's rusting. And I know it doesn't sound like the funnest terms to hear, but we're really rusting and dehydrating. Rusting, kind of like a rusty nail? Yeah, kind of like that. It's just oxidative stress, oxidation, if you've never heard that term. We got to use oxygen. It's essential for life, essential for health, essential for us to be alive. But the byproducts of us breaking it down, and other species, other things in our body that we can put in vis-a-vis toxin side effects, we'll talk about that, can actually speed that up. So what happens? We break down faster. When we oxidize, things basically turn stiff, brown, and hard. Stiff, brown, and hard. So think about that. Think about your collagen fibers, right? Because collagen is the most abundant protein in your body. And if your collagen gets less flexible, think about the tree branch, the young tree branch out in nature, in the tree in your backyard. When it's young, it can, and supple, it can bend. It can bend incredible amounts in the wind and thunderstorms. It won't break. As it gets older, stiff, brown, and hard, it gets more brittle. So it doesn't bend as much, then boom, it'll break. And when collagen breaks in the body, we see tissues break down. We see joint cartilage break down. We start to have joint pain. We see it with our hair strands. We get broken bonds in the hair. We see it get more frizzy. It's not that soft, bouncy that we used to remember in our 20s. We see it in the skin. We see it because we make the same expressions as we have when we were younger. We smile, we frown, we make grumpy face, we do pouty face, we do all that stuff. What happens is as the fibers break, they aren't as resilient. So then a wrinkle appears. Okay. And that's kind of how it happens. So stiff, brown, and hard, we're rusting. Think about this quick analogy. Cut open an apple, cut open an avocado. Jill knows exactly what I'm talking about. What happens? It starts to turn brown, right? So that's the importance of antioxidants. Again, we talked about that term, oxidation, but antioxidants help protect things from becoming stiff, brown, and hard. So antioxidant therapy is imperatively important in my therapies, whether you use it topically or internally, both preferably. But that's one way to stave off the we're resting part. Okay, number two, we're dehydrating. We're dehydrating like we're losing water. Yes, we are losing water. We're losing hydration in critical tissues in the body. So that's why your doctors are going to tell you drink lots of water. But that's not enough, unfortunately, because we need this other most abundant substance in the body, two most abundant substances that make you up, collagen and hyaluronic acid. Collagen and hyaluronic acid. And hyaluronic acid we'll just abbreviate as HA. It's a big word. But HA is the critical molecule that pulls water into tissues. It fills your gums. When you start to lose it, you have receding gums. It firms, fills, and hydrates the skin. Firms, fills, hydrates the skin. So it plumps the skin from the inside out. It lubricates your joints, provides super slick, it's WD-40-like substance in your joints. It's even more slicker than ice on ice. That's what we say at all of our CE seminars. Slicker than ice on ice, called synovial fluid. It's a major constituent of this that lubricates and repairs your joints, right? So we can have motion, shoulders, turn our neck, things like that. HA pulls water into the skin, hydrates the areas of the body, hydrates the joints. So we are dehydrated. And I'll just give the last part of that question here, the synopsis on people sometimes ask, how do we, what's the sequence of collagen in the body and HA? Sequence meaning, how do we gain it? How do we lose it? Okay. So I'll just add that part on. And then Jill, I'll let you direct the question here a sec. So really, as we age, collagen we build up in our body. From age birth to about 25 to 27, we're actually increasing collagen content. So we have enzymes in the body. Enzymes do a lot of different things. Enzymes shouldn't be thought of as bad per se in our body. They're just doing different jobs. But we have these collagen synthesis enzymes or collagen synthases that build it up, and they're outperforming the collagenase enzymes that break it down. So they're still doing more. They're building more than breaking down. So we have a net gain until about 25, 27. Then after that age, we generally start losing collagen. So after age 25, 27, the majority of people in the population lose collagen, and we can speed it up with toxins, oxidative stress, things that are not good for our body, excessive drinking, alcohol, all these things can actually accelerate that. Hyaluronic acid, or HA, unfortunately, I don't know if this is God's cruel joke, but we start losing it from birth immediately. We have a net loss. As a baby, we have the most. We have the baby cheeks. You know what they call it? It's baby fat, right? We see the baby fat. Well, yeah, but a lot of it's hyaluronic acid. A lot of it is hyaluronic acid. So we start having a net loss of hyaluronic acid from birth. And it's these hyaluronidase enzymes it's a class of enzymes that actually break down. They're actually in the body because they mobilize HA. So when you have stress in certain areas, different things happen. It's there to break it down so it can put it in other areas of the body. But we start having a net loss. So in my aging approach, just as a synopsis here, I like to protect the body, talk about slowing down oxidative stress, shield it, elevating collagen, and then delaying the breakdown of hyaluronic acid, but certainly elevating it. And there's certain things we can do to elevate it at any age, even though we're breaking it down by the body's mechanism. So, yeah.
You're talking about the oxidation too. To compartmentalize it into another thing is still relative to skincare is comedones and blackheads. If there's the unformed hair keratin or something, and the oil and lipids and stuff that are staying and not being released through the skin, and then when the air hits it, oxygen, it's oxygenated then, and it turns dark. So yeah, which is kind of drying up and dying. And then you're talking about the twig, bending the twig. See, what do I have? No, I don't have any flower arrangement. When I was in Japan one time, I took a class in Ikebana, which is the art of flower arranging. And they would have, or he, the master, had sticks. And we learned, learned how to bend them. And I said, I'm afraid of, and he picks up this other thing down that was in a box, which is a twig, and he breaks it, and he said, "Oh, lady." And I didn't speak Japanese very well. He didn't speak English very well. And then he gets the newer twig toward the end and is bending it and learning how to bend it. And he says, young girl, and it's like, yeah, what you're talking about is exactly.
That's
So,
a great analogy, great visual on that.
yeah, when people hear hyaluronic acid and go, "Ooh, acid." However, now we've got collagen and hyaluronic acid, or HA, as catchphrases. We hear it everywhere, and it's all over advertisements in YouTube or television or magazines or on the street, and especially from those so-called influencers that y'all please stay away from them. They don't know what they're talking about. But can you explain that, why hyaluronic acid is called hyaluronic acid? And of course, if it helps us retain 1,000 times its weight or something, like charcoal does, we're not getting 1,000 times the fluid in our face. And then also, I would like for you to touch on baby fat, the fat in the face. Some people want to remove the fat in their face when they're younger. And then when they get my age, there's no fat. You can't grow the fat back in your face. Would you touch on those for us, please, sir?
Yeah, sure. And remind me if I'm missing any of these. So I'll go back.
I know it's kind of a
There's a couple of
compound.
questions there, but the hyaluronic acid is called that. It's really a sugar. It's a sugar. It does not affect blood sugar. It's really a carbohydrate, complex carbohydrate. And the acid term just because of the pH. That's all. So on a pH scale of acid to base, it's very minute. It's just enough of a carbohydrate that stems slightly into the acidic range. So they call it hyaluronic acid. That's just, I guess, how they named it. The protein, I mean, every substance has a pH. Collagen does, everything. I don't know why when they named it, they didn't go around and say collagen base, or based on the pH. It just happened to have that, but it's really a complex carbohydrate. It's a sugar. And they are the most two abundant substances in the body. You're made of it. So
Yes.
it's not a bad thing. This is a good thing that you want to have lots of. And as we age, we go from they say a plum to a prune. That's the analogy they give, Let's see, the second question you were asking about, what was that?
Fat in the face.
Yeah. So fat, we want to keep
Adipose
that.
tissue.
Adipose tissue, don't have it removed when it's younger, especially because we got a lot of stem cells that are working in our body. And stem cells are magical cells that can become anything and help delay the aging process. So when you have things like liposuction or something like that, where you're actually having it moved physically, you're removing a lot of things in there. In fact, acts as a hormone substance too. So it's communicating with your body in a lot of ways. You don't want to remove these critical tissues and areas that could be, beneficial to you as you age. And you don't know, trying to put fat back in your body, if you're going to try to eat your way there, you don't know where your body's going to put it per se. Most people, when they eat it, it goes around their waist or thighs. You'd have to do something surgical to put it in an area like that, but then it's probably not your own fat. Maybe it is, but then you're creating an intentional wound. It can be a lot of complications because surgery is just not magical. It's not just like you're not going to have side effects. There's always complications. There's always challenges. There's always trade-offs.
Then how do we lose hyaluronic acid? How do we, can you go into that a little bit deeper?
So it's the hyaluronidase enzymes that degrade it, that break it down.
Okay.
They're just working faster than the the hyaluronic synthases
Yes.
that
Okay.
build it up. And again, it's like, what's the thing here? We're trying to figure that out genetically. Like, what's the mechanism is in us that causes them to be more active from birth than the ones that are making HA? Well, I think maybe if we crack that code, that'll be a big, big find in science. So
When we were chatting about this, kind of doing a preview show and getting to know each other on a Zoom call not long ago, you mentioned something that was just so interesting to me, and I thought, I learned this in one of my colleges, got a lot of degrees many years ago, about botulism came from the canning industry. I had forgotten all about that. So what is Botox and what happened with the canning industry? Because when I was in college and learning that, it was a long, long time ago, on the
yeah,
canning industry and botulism.
yeah,
Are
yeah.
they
So
anywhere near the same thing?
yes, yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, so here's the thing today. We kind of have a cultural problem in a lot of the westernized nations, but we're in what I call a fast food mentality when it comes to doing things, getting things, experiencing things. We want a quick effect, and people are very willing and eager to pay for the quick effect, even when it can be detrimental to their overall well-being and be can be counterintuitive to what they're trying to do. So if they're in aging, anti-aging, or intelligent aging, as I like Jill, she put it, we can do things that could create a quick short-term benefit and say, oh, that helped out. That did something for us that was beneficial, with a severe long-term consequence that could even be directly contradictory to what we're trying to do, meaning it can age us faster. So Botox is a standard board question from doctors in my area, because
Yeah.
it's a neurotoxin. It's a botulism has a neurotoxin that would cause paralysis. They found it during the canning of foods. It was in the late 1800s into the 1900s, depending on what region of the world was going through canning during industrialization. They found this, they isolated it, and today they've implemented in the cosmetic industry at large to basically treat wrinkles, with the rationale that if they inject it into a muscle, because what it does is it creates muscle paralysis. It's a neurotoxin, so it inhibits the neurotransmitter. If there's two nerves, it blocks
Right.
the gap, the synapse, from receiving a signal, so that the nerves can't communicate to the muscle, so the muscle relaxes, with the rationale that it's your muscle contractions that are causing wrinkles. When we talked about that earlier, it's really oxidative stress, not the because we were making muscle contractions all our life, right? When we were in our 20s and our teens and stuff like that. And so this is a very dangerous substance, and they've commercialized it, and I don't think it gets nearly enough discussion on the harmful unwanted side effects, which are extremely severe.
What are
And
those side effects? What could they be? What would they be?
I've got a post. It's so long. There's so many in the
Oh,
range of
okay.
severity, but it has what we call boxed warnings. And I kind of had a tough discussion with a surgeon who's a friend of mine, but she was really coming after me about speaking on this. I was just sharing information about what these side effects were, because she was downplaying the severity of boxed warnings, or black box warnings, which are the most severe that FDA can issue. They can be things like you can't breathe, you can't swallow, heart rate irregularities. It's because what happens is let's just go back. So when you're injecting locally using Botox, they're trying to target different facial muscles. Sometimes they're used for migraines, so they'll trigger the occipital muscles, neck muscles, things like that, to try to relax them in order to create a temporary effect of relief of maybe the migraine, if the migraine is being induced by muscle tension. Not all are.
Yeah.
A lot are for different reasons, but in the wrinkles, face, we're getting those muscles to relax. The challenging part is that neurotoxin doesn't stay there locally. And so don't let anyone tell you that it will, because anything that's small enough, and the size of this molecule is, when they isolate it from the Botox, the bacteria, I can't remember, the botulinum bacteria that makes this, they've commercialized it. They manufacture the neurotoxin, they isolate it, they purify it, they put it in there, and what it does is they inject it, and it's small enough to enter circulation. So when you have circulation, it's going to affect everything and anything. depending on how many times you go get it, the concentration of it. It can affect everything and anything from our eye muscles, being able to focus, so people get blurred vision. They get what's called Botox brain because they start having brain fog and memory issues because it's blocking a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is responsible for muscle contractions. That's job one. Now, job number two, acetylcholine helps with memory. It's a neurotransmitter of memory. You can't, people who have Alzheimer's, people who have dementia have very low, the medical community knows it's very low levels of acetylcholine, that neurotransmitter. It causes smooth muscle. So smooth muscle, people don't think about this, your digestive tract. So they have issues ranging from constipation to diarrhea, irritable bowel. We said it affects the heart. That's a different type of muscle called cardiac muscle, but it's muscle nonetheless. It affects the whole body. They get muscle twitches. They have neck spasms. They can, like I said, the focal areas of the eyes, they can lose focus. Those muscles that work to help focus, they get drooping. It can kind of look like Bell's palsy on the face.
Yes, oh, I see that all the
Droops, the
time.
eye droops, all these things. There's a lot of side effects. Yeah.
What is acetylcholine the same as L-acetylcholine, or is that something different?
So there's choline, the nutrient, and that helps. That's a backbone molecule when you take choline to help build that neurotransmitter. So I use
Right.
that. But I don't know about N-acetylcholine.
Okay.
That might be a form of choline.
L
But that
with the L.
L in front, right.
Yeah, okay.
But this is acetylcholine, one word, that's the neurotransmitter that it blocks. So that's basically how Botox works, is it intentionally creates a blocked nerve paralysis. And then you don't know to what degree the nerve can come back. So that's the thing. You could damage it to the point where you lose it. And nerves are one of the tissues that don't regenerate in the body. Unlike bone, can actually cut away. Whoops, I'm sorry about my thing here. Can cut away a lot of bone, and the bone can actually regenerate.
Yes.
You know, there's certain tissues. Nerves do not. Nerves are precious. Nerves govern everything in the body.
What about the fillers, cosmetic fillers, and what are they made of?
Yeah. So today,
Botox is one thing, and a lot of people don't understand, because I will have clients come in and say, "Oh, I need Botox," or "Oh, I need filler," and I know of different brands of different things, and even that string that they run through a under the skin.
yeah.
What are fillers when people get?
So that's another thing that's used today. So we talked about Botox. Botox, I think, is counterintuitive to your aging because you're adding stress to the body. I think ultimately it's aging you faster. You're adding more oxidative stress, even though you're getting a short-term quick effect. That's my opinion. You're going to hear other people say otherwise. Fillers, I think right now the commercial grade fillers are using are also fairly dangerous. I mean, the group I have has many people in it. Now, some are very pro these things, and they're very clear about that. But in the group, it's really to let people share their side effects. And the amount of side effects and unwanted reactions to filler is amazing. It really surprised me too. I knew there were some. I didn't realize how bad they could get. But what fillers are is they're largely consisted of hyaluronic acid. Now, they're sourcing it from different, I think they're able to grow hyaluronic acid now, culture it some ways, and the new things, I have to look into that. But they used to source it from rooster comb. Rooster comb was a big one. Chicken comb, that was really rich in hyaluronic acid. They take that from the animals. I'm not a big fan of animal abuse or testing on animals, for the record, but that's where they would source a lot of it. And then they would cross-link it. They change some of the properties because they don't want it to break down. They want it to stay in you and last in you for a long time. So cross-linking is just a term, they'd modify it, but that wasn't really the bad part. The bad part is they add these other synthetic ingredients in the cosmetic fillers. These are thickeners. These are flow agents to help it ooze and move around a corner when they lift it in. And things that can be kind of like plasticizers, things that make it hard. There's synthetic ingredients that the body reacts to very adversely. Because again, you're introducing some of these chemicals I've listed. I have a post on there where I listed like 8 or 10 compounds, and they are, can affect nerves and create nerve stress, affect the immune system, create inflammation. They can contribute to granulomas, different adverse reactions. I mean, severe immune reactions depending on where your body's at. And so when people get these injected, The HA port is rather innocuous. But again, the goal of the cosmetic filler isn't to naturally, safely elevate your body's HA to a natural look to what you have. It's there to force a shape. It's there to force a feature. So that's why they added all these synthetic ingredients in there to make it harder, make it last longer. They don't want it to break down. And so when you inject it in there, it's going to have this exaggerated effect with a lot of stay power. And that's where people get into troubles because it does not break down. And a lot of people can get either adverse reactions or sometimes they don't like the look, which can lead into the next step using dissolvers, which are very problematic. But I'll throw that back over to you.
Dissolvers. Okay, well, let's just hit on the dissolvers.
Let's go right into it. Yeah, sure.
If you would, please,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. So it's really those synthetic ingredients. So now they created another class of treatment in the cosmetic industry, these dissolvers. And the dissolvers are largely consisting of hyaluronidase enzymes. Remember I talked about that in the beginning?
Yes.
Two, how we're aging and how we're losing HA from birth, the different enzymes, and it's the hyaluronidases that cause us to lose HA from birth. Well, guess what? Now they have this in injectable form in various amounts because when an area gets overfilled, and I've had to talk to so many female clients who had something happen because they didn't like the look. It was overfilled. Or worse, they're having an adverse reaction, meaning their body, their immune system sees something in that injection that it's not like, right? And it's attacking it. And they're getting inflammation and redness and tissue damage. So now, oh my gosh, you should see some of the surface tissue damage I've seen from some of these women with fillers from something that was injected deep into the skin and how it has affected the body and the immune system and it started taking apart the outer layer of the skin and so forth like that. It's challenging. So then they have dissolvers. So dissolvers are these hyaluronidase enzymes that they inject in at the site. And again, it's going to go in and degrade the hyaluronic acid. So it takes down the look. Oh, I overfilled. Okay, I'll put in something there that eats away at that excess filler. Problem, the hyaluronidase enzyme used in dissolvers affects the HA component only, the hyaluronic acid. But remember, I just told you that there's all these other ingredients in filler, plasticizers, thickeners, flow agents, all this stuff. Many of them harmful. They're synthetic. They're not good. They're like glues. They're like solvents, things you'd smell. You go, ooh, that's kind of strong, or like in like a hardware store or something. These are getting injected to you. Granted, they're in lower amounts, but they're deemed safe by a lot of these agencies because they want to sell these things. So these enzymes get injected in and they start breaking down the filler, the hyaluronic acid component only. That's all it's breaking down. The plastic stuff, the other things I just mentioned, it does not touch. So then what can happen is these technicians will go, hey, I'm going to go ahead and give you another one because we didn't get it all. Well, the thing is, it's not degrading the it's not degrading these plastic things that are in there. Your body can really only do that. It will affect the hyaluronic acid. It's going to break that down. So they give you more. Bigger problem. That sets us up for this extreme example. And this is how a lot of people find me, is because they say, oh, I'm having side effects from the dissolvers, side effects from the fillers. Well, what are those? Well, I've lost all the volume in my face. That's the scariest one they talk about. I used to have these plump cheeks. I used to have, not hollow eyes. I used to have these filled eyes. I used to look healthy. Now I'm seeing myself age rapidly. Now I have joint clicking. I have joint pain. Now my eyes, I don't get tears on my eyes. I have dry eye. I never had dry eye in my life. Why not? All these different things. And those are really not a side effect or an allergy of that product of using dissolvers. That's actually intended. Because again, what happens, let's go back to what I talked about. Similar effect with Botox going systemic is the same thing with the hyaluronidase enzymes used in dissolvers. You inject it in, it just doesn't stay locally. What happens is it goes around and it starts breaking down and gobbling up that precious substance that's making you feel good, but also look younger, hyaluronic acid. It will circulate throughout the entire body. So it'll affect you here under the arms. It'll affect you on the legs. It'll affect you in your face, on your neck, on your chest. It's going to go anywhere and everywhere based on the concentration and the dose and start dissolving your body's HA. That part to me is extremely concerning, and it's alarming because the industry as a whole thinks that this is largely okay. And because again, they're just trying to appease a person with this sale of, hey, they had the product put in, it maybe didn't look right or feel right to them, or they're having worse, an adverse reaction involving their body, the immune system. We got to get rid of it. But this stuff is not going to stay at the injection site. It's going to go throughout the entire body. And that's where you get these effects, because it's breaking down your hyaluronic acid.
And we have people that are watching, oh, I don't want anything with BPA in it. I want it black, glass lined. I don't want the lead. There are a lot of these cups out now that they have lead, but they don't want the BPAs and they don't want plastics and things. However, they've got it in their system. Now that can get in the bloodstream too, can't it? Could it possibly, am I overstretching the limits here? Could it possibly get into the bloodstream and cause clots or embolisms?
So that, I don't know how much of an effect that directly the substance could create a clot. Clots usually consist of proteins and fats, lipids that are oxidized. But what it can do is depending on the person, right? Because we're all a little bit biologically different. Some people will have this and they say, I really didn't notice an adverse effect. I would argue otherwise, like we could talk about things they just didn't know, but they aren't having this big overt reaction. But what can happen is we can induce inflammation, right? We can induce inflammation by putting these things, and inflammatory compounds can be cumulative. And when they're acute, meaning short term, not always so bad. Sometimes when we hurt ourselves, inflammation is good because we got to get it to heal that part of our body. But chronic inflammation is the one that kills us. So these substances that we put in our body can certainly induce prolonged, lingering chronic inflammation. And it's this inflammation byproduct that causes things to goop together, stick. Could it contribute to the clots? Yeah, probably with other things going on in the body. It could do that, but I don't have any specific numbers or data to say that you get injected, it will create a clot. So
it would be too large also to get into the lymphatic system, because that's so small too, right? But it might interfere.
Yes. Lymph was a backup. So I learned a lot about lymph because when I was really ill, I was telling you this earlier, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So my lymph system, I had nodes the size of plums. And so the lymph is a backup to the blood. When the blood becomes overrun, the lymph starts to kick in. And that's where we get, whether it's an infection or toxic exposure or both. And I don't know that the substances would get there through the filtration, but it's definitely showing us a sign that our blood is really doing everything it can to hang in there. So it's a red flag. It's a red flag. And I'd have to look that up to see to what degree it can get in different systems, but you definitely don't want it in your general circulation, but these things are getting there, unfortunately.
People can contact you because there'll be links in the description to contact you for treatment or for products or consultation or that sort of thing. I want to make sure I mention that again in case somebody just came in on like the tail end of this and didn't get to hear everything and want more information and don't want to just rewind this. But can you or would you please share with us good ways to support natural skin and body aging and maturing, please?
I like it. Intelligent aging. I'm going to keep using that. So I'm sure you have good ways too. You're an esthetician, you're knowledgeable. I believe that first, a big thing we can do is just cut down our toxic exposure because we are being exposed at a rate unlike any other in modern history. So I have things I use with people who have adverse effects from Botox, from fillers, from even the dissolvers, things like that to kind of help them out, negate and slow so we can start removing those things safely. So that's one thing we can do. And then going back to why we age, I believe in, supplementation and using safe, non-toxic cosmetic products. So I'm a big believer in antioxidant therapy. I like to use things that are proven. The challenge in the United States is we get things that, because it's not a drug, nutrition is not a drug, food's not a drug, and it shouldn't be. I'm happy with that. I don't want it to be regulated like a drug. I want them to be separate. But there's a lot more leeway in the food and supplement side of the FDA. Food and drug. They're not food drug. It's not one word. It's separate words. We want them separate. Food are food, and supplements are food. Supplements can be concentrated foods, high quality, called a nutraceutical. So
That's
I
what,
use things, yeah, I use powerful antioxidants that I see work, and I like using collagen supplementation, and I like using hyaluronic acid supplementation. The problem is, we call this the cosmetic industry's dirty little secret. They have little dirty secrets with things we talked about, but we have dirty secrets in the nutritional world too, unfortunately, and it's sad. So I don't like being misled. I personally get peeved when I'm misled about things to buy, and I don't like misleading people. But there's the dirty secret with collagen and HA is that these are really large molecules. They're really large. Any doctor who's trained in this in cosmetics knows collagen and HA are very, very large, and they have to be. They would say you can't absorb it. You can't absorb it when you ingest it. You can't absorb it when you use it topically on your skin. Either of them. They're huge. You can't see it with your eye. They are large, though, on a molecular scale. So what happens with the majority of these collagen products and HA products is if they're ingestible, we ingest them, we ended up pooing them out. We send them out through our bowel into the toilet. So we're using the expression, pooping away our money.
right?
I mean, and that's unfortunate because they have not been modified for absorption. Well, then you might go, well, why? Why are they selling that? Well, first of all, because the regulation allows it here in the United States and in most parts of the world. But they allow it because people are buying it. They hear collagen, they hear hyaluronic acid. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get that. Let me get that. I'm going to buy that. Very few, couple of companies have figured this out. They told the truth. They developed something that is bioavailable, that's small enough and ideal enough to where you absorb it when you take it. That's the important part. And they can make proven claims using the P word. That's huge because when you say proven to do something, that elevates it to a much higher level of scrutiny. And the FDA will shut you down in a heartbeat. If you have that proven statement out there, you can bet some company that sees you, a competitor or something, they're going to put that claim up there. They're going to file it to the FDA to have them look at it. They will. So in the right form, collagen, proven to reduce fine lines, creases, and wrinkles, something that this does, proven to reduce joint discomfort, joint pain, and stiffness, and then proven to inhibit the enzymes aging us, the hyaluronidase enzymes. So this hyaluronic acid, that collagen that I use with hyaluronic acid, is proven to elevate your main 3 types of collagen in the body, proven to elevate your hyaluronic acid levels 6,000% after 28 days. That's incredible. There's no therapy in the planet that can do that.
On age, does it matter? I'm going to interrupt there. On the age, does it matter? Like 28 days, is that somebody in their 30s, and then it's 45 days on someone in their 60s? Or how can you?
Wherever they were at, yeah, wherever they were at, it was a randomized, double-blind placebo trial, and Jill can explain to you what that is. That means that the test groups didn't know what they're taking. Am I taking tropical punch or the real thing? And the administrators, the scientists and doctors, had no idea what they were giving to the people. That's the value of a double blind. So everyone's in the dark as far as what they're getting. Yeah. Are they getting something fake? Are they getting something real? And what they did was they measured HA levels in the blood 6,000% after 28 days. That was the low end. The high end was 9,000%. But the company wants to be, they're very regulatory on what people say, things like that, compliant. So they say report the low end 6,000%. There's no medical procedure that can do that. There's no drug, there's no injection, there's no microneedling, nothing. That's throughout the entire body. That's not just in one area. And so that's why it works 2 ways. It inhibits those hyaluronidase enzymes I mentioned at the beginning that cause us to age. And it's small enough, it's the right size, going back to that dirty little secret I just mentioned, to where your body can absorb it. It actually absorbs sublingually, this collagen and hyaluronic acid. So it gets into the body right away, but easily in the digestive tract. Even for people with compromised digestion, it's going to get in there and have an effect. So that's one of the benefits of this. And again, it gets around the big absorption issue that people have. It's hyaluronic acid. It's something I learned a lot about years ago. I was like, wow, okay, this makes sense, because I was into it for helping people with pain. Yeah. That's where I got into it, because that was me years ago. And I was like, I got to fix this. You know, I'm going to all these different pain specialists, chiropractors, acupuncturists, MDs, getting injections and steroids. And I was getting surgical consults because I was just in a world of hurt. Little did I know that this is the substance and this is the story behind it that can help people out in a lot of different ways. So that's
Well, I
that's
mean, detox is a word I try not to use, but I'm going to use it here.
Okay.
When someone is detoxing from having these fillers and the even the dissolvers and that sort of thing, would they be likely to go through a reaction or side effects that are going to where they can't go to work the next day or for a week, or uh, they're sick
That's a
with
common question.
GI issues or something?
Yeah. So what I do, I do things that support different detoxification pathways.
Okay.
I'm doing that simultaneously, and I'm using targeted things that can go in and kind of grab some of these things and pull them out. And the problem is sometimes when people use different things, they can grab and drop.
Mhm.
I like to use things that grab and hang on to until it's out. And I use that with some of the things. So typically what I've seen, Jill, with the things I've been using, I have not noticed people getting worse. They actually just incrementally say they're feeling better. The strange anomalous sensations they had. I had one woman, she said she had these strange pains that would zap across her forehead and go from side to side on her head. You know, when we did our checkup consult, like 2, 3 months later, she said, no, those aren't there. And so I was like, great. So we were going through all the things she initially reported. And at no time she said, I got weak. I don't have people say, you know, the shakes, felt fatigued. You know, sometimes when life hits you with stuff while you're doing that, people can go, oh, maybe this is the product I'm taking. Again, I work with a lot of people who have compromised immune systems and things like that. So I'm very careful because I'm kind of the same way. My body's a canary in the coal mine. I like to use things that are delicate, safe, proven, and effective. But generally speaking, the answer no, it should be okay. If you're using something that brings in a toxin, see, that's a question. Going back to having things that are third-party tested for safety, non-toxicity, and efficacy, that's the challenge. So there's certain ratings that elevate products to that high level. That's what I like to use. Now, if I go get something that can be a chelator, because let's say I'm using a nanized zeolite, which is something I use to help people, there's a bunch of different brands out there. What if those already have some contaminants in it because it's very reactive, right? It can grab onto stuff really quickly.
Yes.
And in the packaging, in the formulation, it had stuff either on it already or it picked it up from the things that they used to make it. Okay, well, that's a problem because now you're putting this in there. It's going to help you detox, but you're introducing things in there that aren't good for you. Then people go, oh, I'm having this detox reaction. Oftentimes I find that to be the culprit is when we swap things out, I don't have those detox effects that I was experiencing with the previous product. So that's just my experience.
Yeah. As an esthetician in Texas, I can't recommend because there's cosmeceuticals and nutraceuticals, and with what I do, kind of on the nutraceuticals, but I refer, you know, like I will refer to you from now on, to refer the client to get in contact with you so you can help them with that. But there's the there's cosmetics and cosmeceuticals. Nutraceuticals, and then prescriptives and medical grade, clinical grade, professional grade. There are all of these different, I don't know, not caste system, but levels of things. But as a licensed esthetician in Texas, I cannot recommend or someone to take an aspirin, even though we use salicylic acid, which is a different type of thing than the aspirin, actually, you know, in some of our treatments, and the AHAs and the BHAs. So we've got deodorant, dandruff shampoo, that sort of thing. Those are considered OTC, which are over the counter. I cannot recommend those. Those are not in the cosmeceutical, under the cosmeceutical umbrella. And I just find that that's really interesting that people can go into a market or drugstore or something and buy all of these things that are like, do you really know what's in what the ingredients are in that?
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
We're going to have to now here I'm going to saying it live on this show, um, do a show on retinols and something sometime. Okay,
Got some healthy substitutes for that too, because people
good,
hate that retinol burn. But yeah, I'd be
good.
happy to talk.
And the vitamin C things. Okay,
Yeah.
so do you have anything to add before we get into the closing question?
All right. I mean, thanks for having me here. If you want to find me, anyone can follow me on Instagram at Sledz DC, SLEDZ, letter D, letter C. That's Instagram. And then on Facebook, I'm Phil Sledz, DC, like Washington, DC with the big DC after it. PHIO. I think Jill's going to include my name on there.
I
So
am.
you follow me there. I share I share a lot of information on those platforms, and LinkedIn too. Facebook's probably the best place to reach me. But
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
What, okay, our final question I like to ask the guests on Happy Skin Over 50, which I want to back up a little bit. Happy Skin Over 50 does not necessarily mean that you cannot watch this show or share this information if you are not over 50. But anybody from birth, we're wanting to make sure that over 50, we do have happy skin. And that's what this is all about. So it's for all ages. So Dr. Sledge, who or what was your inspiration to get you where you are today and what you're doing today with helping everybody?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. And I love that name, Happy Skin, for the record. That's awesome. It's just
Yeah.
it's a vibrant, it's like, that's what we want. We want to be happy. We don't want to be judgmental. We don't want, it's like we want happy skin, and the body's happy, happy body, happy skin. And so I just had a thought. I could share another perspective on skin really quickly, but to answer your question.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So I will. So I have some traditional Chinese medicine training. It's called TCM.
Yes.
So I have some minor ratings in that. One of the things that we talk about in that is in the body, we have really three skins. So we have our outer skin, right? We have this. The inside of our lungs is considered another type of skin. Okay. And then the inside of our gut, the gut tube, mouth to anus, is the third type of skin. Well, why is that? Why, someone will go, how is that possible? Well, because when we're born, when we go back to our original cell biology of an embryo called embryology, we actually kind of come from three basic cell group types. And then they morph into different cells. Basically, you come from three different cell groups. That's it. There's in a little it's like a hockey puck when we're being born initially until we start to differentiate. And those cells go into different parts of our body. So they call them epithelial cells. They're very similar in their makeup, and they react the same way. They get damaged the same way. So oftentimes too, we see that when we have things we react to internally in our lungs, we get sick, fluid, inflammation, fibrosis. We can see things happening on our outer skin too. They communicate. Same thing with our gut tube. We have inflammatory reactions in our gut, things like that. We can see eruptions on the outer part of our skin, acne, different things like that, and vice versa. So they're very telling, and our outer skin is very telling for what is going on in our internal body, and the skin's considered the largest organ in the body. So it's important to be happy, have happy skin. Yeah. Just sharing that perspective. To answer your question, I would say, one of the things, I just had to get into this to save my life. That's how I was really desperate, and I was scared initially, and I had to find answers because I wasn't getting answers. I was getting very commercialized answers, or the textbook answers that you could ask any standard doctor. Was telling me, oh yeah, just rest, stay off it. I'm willing to do whatever I got to do to save my life, but dealing with the health crisis that I was in, I knew I had to find people who were looking at things people were saying, oh, no, it's not that. Oh, that's a bunch of nonsense. Couldn't be these things. I had to go to those people because they had the answers, and a lot of them had the solutions. And the people that I gravitate towards now, two mentors, is a doctor. She's here in Austin, Dr. Phyllis Light, spelled like light, like sunlight. She's been a great mentor. Nutritionally, we've researched and found many things, including this collagen hyaluronic acid ingredient together, and we've helped countless people with their aging and aging woes so they can age intelligently. Also but not just limited to that. I'm talking about a lot of things nutritionally helped me with. Another one is a Nobel enzymologist I started studying with on enzymology and how that's so important, who's out in Montana. He's had clients like Magic Johnson, Manny Pacquiao, Serena Williams, all these people with some of his products. So I mix and match a lot of products because I really try to find things that really work well in any specific category. But that taught me a lot about immunity, autoimmunity. That's where his Nobel nod came from, is developing some natural products that help with autoimmunity, specifically HIV/AIDS. And HIV/AIDS is considered kind of like the unfortunate penultimate of autoimmunity. It's something that,
Mhm.
it's serious, it's bad. So I'm grateful for those people. Yeah.
And that uh, uh, HIV and AIDS have given has given the world kind of a boost of you better get on the ball and start studying a little bit more and getting some things figured out. So it's like, oh, we can't just look at it like, oh, that's such a bad thing. But it has helped so many people in other areas, even if they're not um, in the realm of uh, experiencing HIV or full-blown AIDS or something. So a lot of good information has come from that, from the naturally based community.
Awesome.
So
Loving
I
it.
wanted to mention that. Okay, well, I wanted to thank you very much. And this is something that people, I hope, share this video. And in the description, you'll find ways to hit on a link and get in touch with Dr. Phil Sledge. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. If people do reach out from this and other presentations, just feel free to drop, where you saw me or something like that. I get a lot of friend requests. I don't, anyone can follow me, just for the record. I don't always accept all the friends. If people reach out that way, oh, okay, I know people. Yeah, sure. I have no problem letting in strangers into my friend community. Just let me know where you saw it, and it's always more helpful that way. But thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate
Yeah, well,
it.
thank you.
All right. Super.